Or Jamar, what's good?
Peace. What's happening?
Chilling. Before we get into anything more, there was really some horrible news this morning with the church shooting that happened in South Carolina.
Right.
So I guess this was one of the oldest churches in the South.
Right. Historically black churches.
Black churches in the South. And a white churchgoer showed up, I guess prayed.
Well, he wasn't a churchgoer. He was just a white male who came in there.
Who came in the church.
Right.
I guess prayed with them for about an hour or so.
Correct.
Then pulled out a gun and killed like 9 people.
Right.
I mean, how'd that make you feel when you heard that?
You know, it immediately made me think like, where are we right now? Like, what is the date that we're in right now? Because a lot of the shit that's going on right now is like the 60s being played over again.
Yeah, the church bombings and everything.
The church bombings and just the police brutality. And, you know, it's slightly different, but it's the same. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And it's like, my wife even told me that she has a connection to 2 people
in that church
that were killed in that church. One of them,
oh wow,
she went to school with a guy whose grandmother got killed in that.
Oh, so he was killing like old women and stuff like
indiscriminately. Then she just hit me a little while ago and said one of her sorority sisters got killed in the shooting.
Okay, so in the process of us actually talking,
right,
they caught the shooter.
Right, 21 years old.
21 years old, weird looking white kid.
Right, fucking bowl cut,
yeah,
rocking motherfucker.
Bowl cut. You know, when you look at him, you could tell that socially awkward.
Right.
You know, based on the pictures that I'm seeing.
Well, I didn't see those pictures. I only saw some of the surveillance footage. I didn't see any close pictures, but I know he had a fucking, yeah, come on. Uh-huh.
That's the
type of motherfucker. Uh-huh.
21 years old.
Well, now here's the thing, right? I know they're billing this as a hate crime, you know, but is this not terrorism? Like, and in one of our last conversations that we had, Vlad, when the people went in and, you know, they had the Muslim art fair and then those guys came and I guess shot a couple of people or whatever the case may be.
That was terrorism.
That was terrorism. So and the fact that they were Muslim was focused upon. I can almost guarantee you this guy is a Christian, okay? I could guarantee you he's a Christian.
Why do you think he's a Christian?
White Southerner, white guy in the South, like, you know.
Just the odds, yeah.
Roll the dice and I'm pretty sure that you're gonna hit fucking 7 on that. You know what I mean? So my thing is,
doesn't sound like a Muslim guy.
Come on. We know that's not a Muslim
Doesn't sound like a Jewish guy.
I mean, no. It sounds like another white Christian who, you know, believes in white power or whatever the fuck he's on and wanted to make a statement, you know? But is this going to be considered Christian terrorism? Is that how the media is going to portray it? See, because already from the onset, they're calling it a hate crime. Yeah. Well,
what's the
any murder to me is a hate crime.
Yeah, what's the difference between a hate crime and an act of terrorism?
Psychological, the psychological symbolism that words bring about. That's all. There is no real difference.
Yeah, hate crime is usually used for
racial
rights versus blacks most times. I'm not saying every time. And terrorism used.
No, hate crime is also used with the gay population now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's used when most times, and definitely not always, when a white person attacks a black person or
vice versa.
Or a black person attacks a white person? Mm-hmm. That's considered a hate crime?
Yeah. It depends on the context of it. If a black guy attacks a white guy, or a group of black guys attacks a white guy, and while they're beating his ass, they're like, "You fucking cracker, da 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 da." They're gonna say that that's a hate crime.
You just don't hear that reported very often.
No, you don't.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm
No,
saying you
it
just don't.
definitely happens.
Or a heterosexual person attacking a homosexual person is considered a hate crime as well.
Right.
Or,
Only by virtue, though, of the attack and the verbalization of while you're doing it, you're saying faggot, da 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 da.
or like, I mean, for example, a non-Jewish person attacking a Jewish person, or like a synagogue, or putting swastikas on the side of a synagogue.
see,
that's considered a hate crime.
That's considered a hate crime. But see, if a non-Jewish person just happened to do something to a Jewish person, see, it's the vocalization or some sort of symbol. Like if you draw something, like you said, or if you say something that is in conjunction with the violence, that's what usually makes it a hate crime.
Okay.
Right now, they're just assuming by the fact that he's white and this was a traditional black church. I didn't hear anything. I don't know if he got up and said, "You fucking niggers," and started shooting motherfuckers like that. Because that's when you really put the hate crime shit together. Right now, if nothing was said, this is just terrorism. This is terrorism. Christian terrorism. I mean, I don't have it yet that he's a Christian, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that he is until y'all prove me wrong that he's not.
Okay, hold on. I'm reading up about this as I'm talking to you. So there's a picture of him in like a swamp, and he was wearing a jacket with flags of apartheid era South Africa and Rhodesia. Rhodesia, as modern day Zimbabwe was called during a period of white rule. So he was actually wearing symbols of
Black oppression,
white
dominance over black people, right?
In African countries,
right?
So obviously,
and those were Christian. Those were so-called Christian nations.
Were they?
Absolutely. What you think they still worship over there? Yeah,
I'm not sure, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. So he's and these are flags that don't even exist anymore.
Right.
So he's
going out of his way.
He's going out of his way.
Be educated about some shit that probably was going on when he wasn't even born yet. Yeah.
Basically, it's implying that he believes that whites should rule over blacks.
He's a white supremacist.
But
when you go to the history of South Africa and people like P.W. Botha, this man had open speeches about killing black people, about how the different ways that can be used to get rid of black people. He's got speeches where he talks about, we need to be putting things into their brews and the beer and shit that they drink and finding different ways to basically commit genocide against black people.
Okay, so here's some more information. Before he opened fire,
Right.
he said, "I have to do it. You rape our women, and you're taking over our country, and you have to go."
So that's what made it a hate crime right there. You see, that vocalization is why they could put it in hate crime status, but it's still terrorism. But that vocalization right there is why he did it. Now, he said we raped their women. Last I checked, a lot of these white broads is giving it away freely to the black man. So I don't know if you call that rape, if you feel like we raped her mind or something like that. But
Right.
these bitches is giving it away.
Right. You're taking over our country.
We're taking over your country. First of all, we built this country, okay? This country would be nothing without the labor and the free labor that it received from black people in this country. So how could we take over something that we built? I mean, it's already ours.
It's an interesting statement, though. Like, why would a white American feel that blacks are taking over?
Well, see, this is the neuroses, though, in general, that exist within most Europeans, period, towards black people.
Yeah?
Yes.
Explain.
It has to do with genetics. It has to do with the fact that, you know, black people can sneeze and get a woman pregnant. You understand what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
Meaning that we multiply much stronger and faster than Europeans.
Really?
Really. Look into the statistics. Look into, especially when we deal with things like fertility and drugs of that nature. Those are usually
So you're saying a black person's sperm is
strong.
more likely to impregnate an egg than a white person's sperm, or is the implication
saying
hold on,
that-
or is the implication of this
right.
that blacks are more sexually active
No.
than whites, and therefore by throwing the dice
implication
more
is that we're more fertile.
more fertile,
Yes.
both the men and the women.
Yes. We're more fertile. We're more. First of all, we're the ones that populated this planet. Okay? It is our seed that created all seeds come from our seed. So you have to understand the strength and the power of the original man's seed. Okay? As it goes down, as you get. And see, this is not anything racist. This is scientific. And this can be proven with science.
I would say before you go on, I recently interviewed porn star Lexington Steele, who has claimed to have sex with 5,000 women. And in our last interview, I'm not sure if this part has come out yet or not, but he said he has never gotten a single woman pregnant.
That's anecdotal. You know what I mean? That's anecdotal. That's one person. I'm talking about in general. There's always going to be an exception to the rule.
He's quite an exception, though.
Right.
5,000 women never got anyone pregnant, and he's going raw dog every time, essentially.
Right. And I'm sure you could find a fucking black guy with a Chinese guy's sized dick out there. But is that the norm? Of course not. Like, you know what I mean? So that doesn't matter.
Okay. I just want to just throw that in.
What I'm saying is the farther that you get away from original,
Okay.
things get weaker.
Okay. But you're not far from the original, but you're from, your
Right.
skin tone is not
Right. I'm not the knowledge seed.
is not completely dark
Right.
skinned.
So my shit probably is not as strong as a knowledge seed. You see, there's knowledge, there's the foundation, and there's the wisdom seed.
So you're saying a dark skinned black male is more likely to impregnate women than you.
What I'm saying is,
I mean,
the original man, the original black man, the original man that walked this planet was a very dark-skinned man.
Okay. Well,
Over
because
time-
of the region of where they grew up.
That's one of the things. Okay.
Isn't that most of it? Because in certain climates,
Maybe we're the sun people.
yeah, the sun
And
people.
but I mean the sun people from the sun. Okay.
Well, but I mean,
Like-
in a particular region, if you grew up in those African regions where there was a lot of sun, a lot of heat, your body adapt. Your body.
Listen, a
formed
white
more
person can
melanin.
stay in that. It could stay in that environment for thousands of years and will never become dark skinned. Never.
Well, a light skinned person in that environment will probably die. Like I burn. Like you throw me in sub-Saharan Africa without any real shelter and sunblock, and I'm gonna be
Listen,
fucked up.
I I was just in Dominican Republic and I was like, curse the white man that entered my genetic makeup, because I was peeling and fucking, you know, my shoulders was fucking sore. And I'm one that be like, fuck that sunscreen, you know, I don't fuck with that shit. Like y'all motherfuckers is trying to block the sun, okay, which is the giver of life, vitamin D and all this type of shit. But I had to come to grips with the fact, and I didn't put it on, but at the same time, I was peeling like I shouldn't be. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna find many dark-skinned people that's in the sun that's gonna get burned unless they out there for like crazy.
Well, right,
long.
because they have more melanin in their skin.
Exactly. So the more melanin you have, the stronger you are, and the more resistant you are to certain things.
To the sun.
But not just the sun. You see?
What else?
Melanin correlates to a lot of different things, Vlad. A lot of different things. Too many to really go into here, but it also has to do with fertility and virility. Melanin, yes. Okay.
And I mean, you also, you know, there is the point of like dark-skinned people, when they mate with light-skinned people, the baby, I forgot what the term is, but dominant genes, I guess. You know what I mean? Like,
Black is always dominant.
It's very rare, like, that you have a biracial child who looks white.
Very rare.
Logic, you know, the rapper Logic is one of them.
2 black people can create a white baby. You know, there's albinos out there.
Well, but that's not white.
But it is white. It is white. It's lack of melanin. You're talking Caucasian. It's still white.
Well, albino is somewhat of a birth defect. Like, I mean, you have no melanin.
You're right.
You have no melanin.
It is a birth defect.
Here's
the thing.
I wouldn't consider
there is no reverse of that. 2 white people cannot create a black child. Or there is no like birth defect that makes 2 white people that's gonna have a black child.
2 white people couldn't create an albino child.
Right, but it's still white. You see what I'm saying? They can't create a black child.
But it's albino. It's lacking any color.
Well, albinos still have a little bit of
not so
in
much.
there.
Not so much.
If you had no melanin, you couldn't live.
Okay, I'm fairly light. But you put me next to an albino,
right?
I look dark. I look dark compared to an albino.
That's what I'm saying. But they still have to have some degree of melanin to even live. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. You can't live with 0 melanin. Like, their shit is just so at such a low level that it looks like they're totally devoid of melanin. But anyway, you can't do the reverse. 2 white people can't make black, but 2 black people can make white. Whether you you say an albino is not white, regardless, it is white. And if we keep going from black to brown, brown to red, red to yellow, you know what I mean? We finally get to white. And when we get there, there's a weakening that has happened, okay? And traditionally, through history, the European has been very threatened by, first of all, the phallic of the black man, which is a symbol of his virility. And they've been talking this, you're going to take our women's shit for as long as we can remember.
I've never understood that part.
Why?
Because I just think it's I guess male insecurity.
Yes.
Which I've never really dealt with myself. So
right, but it's there somewhere, because in your racial DNA, the majority, and especially people in power who get narcissistic and all of that, that fear starts to control your life. That fear has led people to wars and led people to try to exterminate motherfuckers on this planet Earth.
Remember,
just from the fear, yes, of a black planet.
Fear of a black planet. Right.
Okay? because the fear of a black planet is real. It's all about genetic survival. And this is why black people, or just people of color, period, are a threat to the less genetically, strong, is all I can say, And it's not in a way where you're trying to say, oh, I'm superior. See, it's different.
A while back, there was a sports announcer named Jimmy the Greek.
I know, I remember him.
Okay. He went on the air and he said that black athletes are so dominant in American sports because of slavery, because they're the ship ride over, they're weeded out, that the weak died on the ships.
That's partly true.
And then once they actually got to the plantations in the U.S., the ones that died while working the fields, those
they took the strongest of the strong. First of all,
right?
They took the strongest from Africa, got them over here, and of course during the trip and all of that.
I mean, did they really take the strongest from Africa, or were they just grabbing everyone they could grab?
Well, first of all, it wasn't like that at first. It was trickery. Okay, it wasn't some bad motherfuckers where y'all could just walk in there and be like, "Come here, you're coming with me." It was, "Come here, you know what? I can get you more money over in this new land than you getting over here." Really? Yeah, come on with me. I'm gonna show you. Watch. Now, when you're halfway over the trip, now you realize what's going over, but we don't have cell phones to call back and say, these motherfuckers tricked us. So on the way over, some people jumped the ship, but then they got over there, they went back. They told these motherfuckers, hey, oh, your people's living like kings and queens over there right now. They're getting way more money. Come on. Really? Yeah, they told me to send you a message. Da, 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 da. It was a whole bunch of that shit going on at first. And by the time they weakened us, listen, by the time they got it weak and we got hip to what the fuck was going on, now we've been so fragmented, and a lot of our strong, courageous people, because it takes a courageous motherfucker to say, you know what, I'm going to go to a new land and do what I got to do. A lot of our strongest, most courageous, bold motherfuckers are now gone. Now we're left with the weaker ones. Now you can go in and just start capturing motherfuckers.
Right. And part of it, from what I understand, was some of the warring tribes in Africa when they would
they would sell their prisoners of war and shit like that.
They would sell their POWs to the slave masters for money, and so you had.
But these were warriors, you see. So if you're selling your prisoner of war, the warriors are the strongest men within the community. That's why they go to be the warriors. So ultimately, yes, they were taking some of the strongest people. But this is not just the only reason why we're strong. We're strong because we're the original people of the planet Earth, and this melanin has something to do with our not just physical strength either, our mental strength, our spiritual attunement. All of these things melanin has something to do with, not just the physical. Anything physical is really a representation of mental, because mental is first. So we say all this to say, my man yelled out, you're taking our women, you're taking over this country and all of this bullshit. So what's the underlying basis of that? It's fear. I have to do this because I'm scared of y'all. Yeah. Is what he said. I have to do this because I'm scared that you're gonna fuck my girl with a bigger dick than me. You're gonna fucking take my jobs and have more money than me. I'm tired of seeing these Jay-Z motherfuckers on TV living better than my white ass. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm a white man in America. Why is this black motherfucker flying in private jets and I'm fucking still on the bus? That's the feeling. And that's the fear. And they felt it was worth killing for. But now another thing I want to address real quick before we start moving on to other topics is it just seems so. Is this all coincidental that all of these things are happening right now? I just feel like they're really trying to incite black people to do some shit right now.
Like what?
Like uprise, like have some big riot so that they can come in the name of, you know, keeping the peace and you know, if they got to put motherfuckers in concentration camps and shit like that, they'll do it.
You think that'll really happen?
They're already built.
Concentration camps.
Concentration camps. They're already built.
I mean, do you just mean prisons?
No, I mean concentration camps.
What's the difference?
Well, prisons are, you know, formal formal structures, you know, with you know, locking mechanisms and all of that. These camps are more like temporary type of structures, although they are enclosed. But just think of a bunch of FEMA trailers where they make motherfuckers live and keep them confined in there.
Well, if you remember, I mean, this was before both of our times, but I remember I read about this during World War II.
Yes, they put Japanese people in.
They took a bunch of Japanese U.S. citizens.
Yeah, U.S. citizens, because they were scared.
Some of which were even born in this country.
Absolutely. A lot of them were born in this country, and they put them in containment camps, which are concentration camps. I mean, what is concentration? You put a concentration of people, you know, in a camp. So they're already built, Vlad. And they just waiting for motherfuckers to fuck up. But what's so crazy is they've done such a good job on our generation as far as making us, you know, oblivious to a lot of political shit. Like, we don't even know how to really respond to a lot of political shit that goes on. So they're hoping that we're going to take the examples of the past and first start marching and then riots, and then hopefully, you know, they're going to want some sort of an organization like the Panthers, a Panther type organization to spring up so that they can say, domestic terrorism. That's what we're waiting for. I mean, just yesterday, before this happened, the big news out here was that they caught two dudes who were doing a terrorist plot. And one of them lived in Staten Island. And he actually went after some FBI dudes with a knife. And now this dude that lived in Staten Island looked like a regular black dude. Okay?
Do you have any idea who he is, or do you know anyone who knows him?
No. But what I'm saying is his facial profile. So usually when they talk about terrorism and Islamic terrorism, you know, it's going to be somebody from over there. But once they start now turning the shit around and looking internally at America, shit, a lot of the Muslims in America are black or African Americans. That's a lot of African American Muslims.
Well, and, you know, black and Middle Eastern.
Right. So now, but here's the thing.
Arabic, I guess.
Terrorism isn't confined to Muslims. So now when you have, let's say, some black people who are well-meaning and they're like, you know what, I'm tired of this police brutality. I'm tired of the bullshit that's going on out here. We got to stand up for our people. We got to do something. And they start making moves which they feel are right and just. But these moves that they make, some of them might involve some violence or something like that. That's going to be looked at as terrorism, and these motherfuckers might have nothing to do with Islam and not even think that what they're doing can be considered terrorism.
Well, I mean, one of the major domestic terrorists is Timothy McVeigh.
Right.
Who was not Muslim.
No, he's a Christian.
He's a Christian. Mm-hmm. White Christian.
They don't call him a Christian terrorist.
They definitely called him a terrorist, though.
Oh, they called him a terrorist, but they didn't call him a Christian fundamentalist terrorist. The same way they say Islamic terrorists. See, these are all code words and things to try to get you thinking in a frame of mind. So right now, I'm calling this dude a Christian white supremacist terrorist. The dude that just did this shit in the church. And you're going to have to prove to me that he's not a Christian. Because as of now, I'm just going with that he's a Christian.
Well, let's talk about the Jimmy the Greek thing. I interviewed John Amos, aka
Oh, yes.
James Evans from Good Times, aka Kunta Kinte from Roots, aka
Cut the legs off him.
Yeah, aka the father from McDowell's Coming to America. And we actually talked about Jimmy the Greek. He brought it up.
Okay.
And he said Jimmy the Greek was 100% right. He should not have been fired.
And he was Jimmy, I can't think of his name.
Jimmy the Greek.
Jimmy the Greek, right, exactly. Jimmy the Greek. And when he espoused that, he was subsequently fired. And I said, wait, why would you fire a man for telling the truth? He wasn't casting aspersions on anybody for doing it. He was just relating a historical fact.
John Amos actually was a professional football player.
Right.
At some point. Not he himself said he didn't have the greatest of careers.
Right. He
still
made
was, but he still was good enough to make it
to the pros.
Right. And he actually agreed. He felt that blacks in sports are dominant because of what happened during slavery.
Well, like I said, I agree. I just don't agree entirely. That's not the entire reason.
Well, let me ask
but that's one of the things.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think Jimmy the Greek got fired?
Because he said some shit that I guess was politically incorrect for a white man to say about black people. And maybe we were, what year was this? Because maybe this was the beginning of political correctness in this country.
January 16th, 1988.
88, yeah. You see? They're planting the seeds for political correctness.
So here's the quote. The black is a better athlete to begin with because he's been bred to be that way, because of his high thighs and big thighs that go up into his back. They can jump higher and run faster because they're bigger thighs, and he's bred to be the better athlete because this goes back all the way to the Civil War during the slave trade.
Okay, stop right real quick.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. Just by that wording, I'm going to tell you why he was fired. It's because of the description of what he's talking about. He's talking about the black man like he's a horse. Okay, when you start talking about high thighs and all of that, and he was bred, even though technically we were bred just like animals by these slave masters, but it's the way he's talking about it there that sounds very slave master like, as if he's being very matter of fact about the horse that he's looking at. So that's why I would think, but continue.
So I mean, there's only one last part, and he said the slave owner would breed his big black, I guess, man to his big woman, so he could have a big black kid. Mm-hmm. Seems pretty accurate.
Yes, it's accurate, but it's the way he's saying it, though. You see,
Okay.
What he's saying is accurate, but it just sounds very, well, I'm a slave master, and I know about this type of shit, and it just the descriptiveness of it sounds very shady. And at that time in '88, you did have a lot more, fight the power, vocal black people that might be like, yo, did you hear what that motherfucker said? Like, and got at his ass. You see what I'm saying?
He also said, I guess in an interview, that if blacks take over coaching jobs, like everyone wants them to, there's not to be anything left for white people.
More fear. You see? More fear of a black planet.
Are there, I don't follow football very closely. Are there a lot of black coaches in the NFL?
I mean, there's a few, not as much as there should be, but there's a few now.
NBA?
And they're winning. Yeah, there's black coaches. There's black coaches now in Major League Baseball. There's black managers too, but that's still more of a white boy's field when it comes to coaching in baseball, it seems like. Now, in hockey, I'm sure there's none.
Right.
Although we do have some black hockey players now, and there's actually one on the Canadiens that this motherfucker's nice.
Are there? I mean, baseball is not really dominated by blacks the same way that like football and
Yeah, well, it was. Now it's being dominated by black
Spanish
people.
Yeah.
They're still black, though.
So that bothers you when he said that, or not really?
Like I said, the substance of what he's saying, I don't have a problem with. It's how he's saying it that I rubs me the wrong way.
Well, me and you talked about this offline not too long ago, but and this was touched on a little bit in Django, but there were actual breeding farms during slavery times, where men and women would be kept in cages like animals and be forced to mate and create large offspring, essentially. You know what was interesting actually?
There's pamphlets out there how to make a slave.
Yeah.
It goes into the science of breeding and what you got to do to break a slave, and it's all very, very horse-like, very
written out.
Yeah, they got it down to a science.
But the other day, I had heard a rumor about this, about someone was telling me that about this, so I actually followed up. So I'm friends with Mr. Marcus, the male porn guy, right? And I had heard a rumor from someone else, because he was talking to them, that his great grandfather was a stud.
Okay.
Was one of these black slaves that was used to impregnate other female slaves. And I guess and I talked to him about it, and he goes, yeah, because my grandfather mentioned it to me one day that his great grandfather was one of these studs, and I guess what I do for a living now is just carried on from.
It runs in my blood.
Yeah, it runs in my blood, basically.
I'm a stud by blood, not relation.
And it was interesting because he actually seemed kind of proud of it. I'm like that's fucked up. He goes, well, okay, I guess. He's like, well, but this is, I guess it runs in my blood, and this is what
He's
I do.
a porn star.
Yeah, so it's a
What
little
do you
bit.
think his mind is?
His mind's a little
not.
bit.
Yeah, it's not regular.
His mind's a little bit different than the rest of us. He thinks more with his dick than the average male. but he actually admitted to it and was like, yeah, I have sex for a living. My great grandfather had sex for a living, I guess. And
hopefully my boy's gonna have sex for a living, and we're gonna keep this thing right on going to the end of time.
Does that bother you when you hear that?
Does it bother me that he's proud of it?
Yeah.
That's his thing. I don't, it doesn't bother me. But is it kind of stupid to be, are we as black people proud of some dumb shit a lot of times? Yeah, we are.
I guess bragging about how much prison time you did, that type of shit.
Right.
Nothing to be proud of.
No. I got mad kids I don't take care of and shit. Come on, man. That's not nothing to be proud of.
I mean, it's kind of a horrific thing to think that humans were bred like horses.
Or dogs.
Or whatever. Pigs, chickens. I mean, it really is. Lizards. I mean, it really doesn't make that much of a difference, really, in the animal world. It's accepted. In fact, I believe that the highest paid athlete in the world is actually a male stud horse. Because they get paid upwards to $100,000, or maybe like $250,000. There's some astronomical number that they got paid to impregnate other horses because they're Triple Crown winners.
Yeah, well, American Pharaoh, that's what I'm saying. He's getting ready to, the horse that just won the Triple Crown, he's getting ready to get stud fees out of this world.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, I remember I watched some documentaries about this. It's not so much that the horse itself was a champion, it's that its offspring become champions. So sometimes the top stud horses were kind of mediocre themselves, but their offspring were becoming champions over and over again.
Right.
So it's like, okay.
But if you have one that actually was a champion
and could produce other
now they're
champions.
expecting the offspring to be crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's insane to really hear that. And I guess that the thing that has always sort of bothered me about this type of thing is that you could be taught by your parents and your grandparents that, you know, during slavery times, that blacks aren't really human, they can't read, they're not as intelligent as us, they're a lower life form, this, that, and the third. But once
shit that's set out of fear.
Right.
Go ahead.
But once you interact with these people, you realize that all that's not true.
Right.
You know, because you're around these people, so you interact with them. Sooner or later, you start to realize that they're about as smart as you, or even smarter. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you can't just keep living, you can't keep drinking this Kool-Aid your whole life. At some point, you're like, yeah, that's bullshit. These people, we're the same species.
And that struck certain people. And what struck certain white people was, you know, the black man and woman's capacity for love, even amongst these conditions. The fact that we can still laugh, love each other, and even have love for the slave master himself, the one that treated you like a dog or a horse and all this type of shit, that the black man still had love for this man. That's where some white people was like, well, goddamn, like, you know, this is crazy. Like, this is, you know, the ones that were able to really, you know, because all people can relate to compassion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when you see compassion out there, I don't care what color you are, what religion you are, everybody respects compassion. You know what I mean?
You know, culturally, what I found is that black people are definitely a lot more accepting of everybody, their own race, other races, and so forth. You know, I've definitely, you know, throughout my life, dating, you know, as I've dated various black women, and I met their families were always extremely, come on in, you're part of the family, you know.
And this is how civilization proliferated. Because if we were fearful to share our knowledge with other cultures and peoples, motherfuckers wouldn't be nowhere right now. This planet Earth would be, you just have small pockets of, you know, Africa would be the shit, and everybody else would be fucked up. If we didn't have the spirit to see you crawling around, you know, in the caves and not fucking burying your dead and not having no real fucking place to live. They say, you know what? Come on. We're going to give you this. We're going to teach you some shit. We're going to help you live a better life, because that's no way to live. And we've done that time and time again on this planet Earth, only to get spitted back in our face by the very people that we fucking helped.
Rachel Dolezal.
Ah, my sweet Nubian neanderthal. My sweet milk of magnesia.
Okay. So, when you first heard about the Rachel Dolezal story, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
First thing that went through my mind is, motherfucker, if you accept Bruce Jenner, you gotta accept this bitch right here. That's what went through my mind. Okay? This woman has always felt like she was black, to the point where she went to Howard University and all that type of shit.
Well, and I remember her parents were saying that as a kid, when she would like draw herself, she would use like a tan
Well,
marker.
there you go. So that only confirms she has more evidence for wanting to be this than your man Bruce has. Because he only has a couple people that say, yeah, he told me that back in the days. But we don't have any concrete. It's not like, you know, Bruce tried to join the female Olympics and was rejected or some shit like that. There's no record of Bruce, up until now, and we're taking the word from a handful of people, an ex-wife who could have been paid off, a couple of his mother says, yeah, Bruce said he wanted to be a girl, but there's no real paper trail to his shit, other than he's 60-something years old now, right? And now he says, I want to be a broad. Whereas at least she got a paper trail. She been coloring herself in as brown. She went to Howard. She got all kind of, you know what I mean? She's going out her way to get weaves that look black. This woman got more black hairstyles than most sisters got. You can see her in more pictures where she's trying to make her hair look like she's of the original flavor than most sisters is out here getting the straight joints, and she's getting the curly weave, and she's getting the braids, and she's wrapping them up. She did all kind of shit. Like, I'm like, now here's the thing. Is it bizarre? Yes.
It is bizarre.
Just as bizarre as anybody who claims to be something that they're not.
Well, I mean, for example, I'm Caucasian.
Yes.
I work within an African American field.
Yes, you do.
Vlad TV is a hip hop site.
Right.
We mostly interview African Americans. A lot of my staff is African American. Most of my managers, that work for me are African American.
And you as a person, your sensibilities lean more towards black culture.
I would agree.
Now, you haven't gone as far as she did, where you're trying to make your skin look more browner. With her, orange is the new black because she's out here
tanning.
Yeah, but she looks
spray
orange.
Tan. Spray tan.
Okay, so you don't do that, and you don't go out of the way to try to make your hair look like it's an afro or some shit.
Well, you know something? Hold on. Okay, that's actually an interesting point. Now that you said that, do you know Third Base?
Yes.
Okay. You know MC Search?
Yes. I remember he used to rock the high top fade and all of that type of shit.
MC Search had the high top fade, which was a very black hairstyle at the time.
Yes.
Like, white people never had a high top fade.
Right.
And back then, that was the thing in the 80s.
And that was crazy that he did that. Like,
and, put in the little,
Yeah, he had to.
Now, he never claimed to be black.
No.
I believe he's Jewish, right?
Yes.
But
he been about that black shit.
Right. And
for a long time.
And
he married a black woman.
Married a black woman.
Child is black.
Oh, so he has kids?
Yeah.
He has biracial
he's
kids?
Been with her he's been with his wife.
Oh, so he's still with the same girl that from way back when?
Yes. And they have, I just saw some pictures on Facebook where his daughter graduated, college or something, like a really good college.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So
he got a black family.
So what's the difference between MC Search rocking a high top fade and Rachel having African American looking braids in her hair?
Well, first of all, I wasn't finished with you.
Okay. All right. We can get back to
We're going to get back to you real quick.
Okay.
Because although you don't do that, right? But what you do, the way you dress is more black.
Yep.
The way you talk is more black.
Yep.
So there's different degrees to everything. Okay.
I'll give you one further. Because I keep myself off camera most of the time, what I hear a lot
is that they thought you was black.
Wow, Vlad is white?
Right.
When I was on Love and Hip Hop, Vlad is white. Like I was seeing tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet. Now, I've never purposely, this wasn't done to try to make people think I was black.
Right.
But the effect was that people thought I was black.
Right. See, the difference between people like you and I think the problem that people have with this Rachel broad is that she's disingenuous.
Yeah.
She's straight up lying. Like it's one thing to say I'm white and I fuck with black culture and that, but to try to look black, associate yourself with traditionally black organizations, even though white people are the ones that created the NAACP in the first fucking place.
Right, and there's been white NAACP leaders.
Of course there is, because it's a white organization. It's not necessarily a black organization. That being said, though, it's thought of as a black organization, and to be the president of it, and to say
president of a Washington chapter,
right, of the Washington chapter, yes, Spokane, to say that you're black, and to say that this black man was your father,
right,
and it was just too much disingenuous shit.
Well, and she also talked about, because I guess she's a professor of African American studies.
Okay.
And I guess in some of her lectures, she talked about how her parents beat her.
Yeah, it was similar to the whips that.
Yeah, like, they beat her for being black, or, how hard, the discrimination she went through for being black growing up, which is just kind of bizarre.
See,
bizarre is the only word I could really think.
It is bizarre. It's just as bizarre as when a man says, I've always felt like a woman and I want to be a woman now. Or a woman says, I always felt like a man and I want to be a man now. It's just as fucking bizarre. It's just as abnormal. So if we're going to look at her as bizarre and as a liar and disingenuous, then we got to look at these transgender motherfuckers the same way.
Well,
if we accept this transgender motherfuckers, then we got to accept her. So give this bitch her reality show, get this bitch a commendation from fucking Barack, and get this bitch a fucking cover on Vanity Fair ASAP. Period.
Well, Talib Kweli spoke on this.
Yeah, he said you're not one of us or some shit like that.
You're not down with us. He said, Rachel is not a friend or an ally to the movement, but rather an enemy to black people who don't identify with her in any way, shape, or form. He said, I've seen people asking, well, why can Caitlyn Jenner identify as a woman? I'm no expert, but it seems to me that there's specific evidence that shows that people can be born with a gender identity that they don't identify with. But I haven't seen any specific evidence.
There is no evidence of that.
And I looked that says
now
you
he's
can be
promoting
born.
some shit that's not right. But go ahead.
He says, but I haven't seen any specific evidence, and I looked that says you can be born one race and identify as another.
Listen, it's all in your mind. Okay? See, what I wish she would have said is, when they said, "Are you black?" I wish she would have said, "You know what? Yeah, I identify as black as a, because I'm paying homage to the people that, proliferated civilization on this planet. And I'm ashamed of the shit that white people have done historically on this planet. And I don't want to be a part of that race." See, she had a chance to say some deep shit, but she didn't say shit. She ran. So you're supposed to be a fucking know about, what did you say, black, what does she study? A professor of what?
African American studies.
African American studies. You ain't study shit. Because you had a chance to say some black shit at that time, but see, you just want to look black. But here's my thing. I feel like she has more of a chance of knowing what it's like to be black than any of these transgender motherfuckers could ever know what it's like to be the opposite sex that they're not. Okay, I'm sure this woman has ran into discrimination before in her life just for acting black. Even if they knew she was white, I'm sure she's suffered discrimination from other white people for being a nigger lover, basically.
Well, but she actually presented herself
right
as black, so she would have some of the discrimination that other black people would have because people assume that she's black based on her hair.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. And even if they thought she was black, well, then now you're suffering discrimination as a black person. Right. But guess what? A transgender is never gonna know, what it feels like to get your period and go through PMS or fucking menopause or fucking, what it is to give birth to a child, which are all a lot of the things that constitute being a woman. Even when they get the fucking estrogen and all of that, and it might fuck with their emotions, they're still not gonna be able to look at the world in the perspective of how a true woman is gonna look at the world. So cosmetically, you're just giving yourself some titties, you cutting off your dick, you still not, nobody's sewing in no ovaries for you. Right. Do you see what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna truly know what it is to be a woman. You're cosmetically doing it just like she cosmetically trying to make herself look like she was black. And she's a liar. And you're a liar too. How many of these transgender broads go out here and try to get a regular dude and fool him and they lie and say that they all the fucking time.
In fact, I interviewed Sydney Starr.
Right.
And
he, stop saying she, because every time you submit to their fucking pronouns, you fucking are going along with the fucking shit. He said what?
So Sydney Starr said that that Sydney is not interested in gay men.
Right. He wants
straight men.
Straight men.
And
he said,
I've asked Sydney if he or she has ever had sex with a straight man and not told.
You're goddamn right I have. So what's so beautiful about a lifestyle that's based in lies, where you have to lie to get what the fuck you want? And then they'll say that it's our fault for putting them in the position where they have to lie. I didn't put you in that position.
Right. Well, the one thing like I can say about my personal situation is that I have never told anyone that I was anything other than white, ever in life.
It would be hard.
Yeah, I remember one of the weirdest emails I ever got. One of the weirdest emails I ever got. And I'm not even sure who this was, but it was right after Isaac Hayes had died. And someone emailed me and said, I just found out that Isaac Hayes was your father. I am so sorry for your loss. And I'm thinking, if there's anyone who doesn't look like me on this world, it would be Isaac Hayes. Like, just, physically we're just very different.
So you know what a lot of white people used to do back in the days was front like they was Spanish. See, that was I knew white boys that would get the Caesar, you know what I mean? Okay. But I mean black Spanish, like that New York
Dominican.
Well, what I mean is
Puerto Rican.
How Spanish are in New York, meaning that black people and Puerto Ricans and Dominicans are so close to each other in New York City that, a lot of Puerto Ricans from New York have that black style about them, like, you know what I mean? So this was the way that a lot of white people, because it was going to seem ridiculous for them to say they was black, but they might could get over as a Puerto Rican or some shit.
That's a much easier sell.
And I knew a lot of white girls that would try to talk like, like they fucking, they from fucking Washington Heights or something, and it's like, bitch, you white, stop fronting. You know what I mean? But shit, you've also had white people though, that for the longest time, I knew white people coming up that used to act black and used to say, I hate white people.
Really?
Yes.
Kind of weird.
They say, I hate white people. They so stupid. This is white people saying this to other black people though, because they wanted to be black, like they really wanted to be black, but they would never say I'm black, but they really truly wanted to be black. To the point where, they had their own self-hatred. But now fast forward, These were kids. Fast forward, these same, and a couple of them were girls. These same girls that they used to fuck with nothing but black dudes. These motherfuckers married white dudes now and got their white life, and they don't talk the same as that they used to live. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Well, one thing that Talib says, which I thought was kind of interesting, he said, she said that she identifies as black. Cool story, but that's not a real thing, because at any time she could go back. That is a privilege that people of color do not have.
Right.
He said that her statement was very disrespectful.
At any time, a transgender could get his titties taken out and put a fake dick on and be a man again. What's the difference?
Same kind of difference.
It's the same fucking thing.
And he brings up the time that she sued Howard University for discrimination. He said that she has a history of taking advantage of the situation. So she sued Howard as a white person.
Right.
You know about the story?
No.
Okay, so she enrolled in Howard University, and you don't have to be black to go to Howard University, but she felt that she wasn't given certain opportunities, like certain teaching assistant jobs and so forth, because she wasn't black, and she sued Howard University as a white person.
Right. So when it's convenient for you to be white and it's helpful for your shit, you're white. But and see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, tomorrow she could straighten her hair, stop tanning, and just be a white girl out here in this world and not have to suffer any discrimination. You just meld right back into white America and you're good, basically. You're good.
I mean, you got Mariah Carey. I was trying to remember some of the other people who are mixed,
Right,
but could pass as white. Mariah Carey could pass as white.
Yeah, she could.
She did for a long time. I mean, I remember when I found out that she was part black, it was like, oh, really?
Nah, I could see something in her, like something.
But
was
she had
weird
long
about how
blonde
she looked. Yeah,
hair.
there's something in her facial features.
Right.
There's something going on in
Right. If you're really looking for it, but the average American would look at Mariah and says, oh, it's a blonde white girl who could sing great.
See,
Cool.
black people who know, the diaspora of how we can be all different shades, you know what I mean? Like, my mother is mad light. Like, my mother's probably your color, like, you know what I mean? But she's black, you know what I mean?
And your father is dark skinned?
No, he's like my color, like brown. Yeah, he's like brown, maybe a little browner, but not too much.
And your kids are actually
Came out kind of light.
light, but your wife is dark
dark
skinned.
skinned, yeah.
You just never know.
Well, there's a lot of fuckery that went on, so you know what I mean? It's like we got to bring the shit back, graft that shit backwards.
I mean, it's a crazy story. It's a crazy story.
Just as crazy as Bruce Jenner.
But
Just as fucking crazy.
But certain
And I say Bruce is crazier. His story's crazier. Just as absurd. Just as deceitful.
certain celebrities have actually.
Well, no, not as deceitful. I'm sorry. Maybe not.
He was straightforward with it.
Yes.
He wasn't telling everyone he was a woman for all these years.
Although I think anyway, never mind.
Well, Carrie Hilson spoke out for Rachel.
Okay.
Said we should thank NAACP President Rachel Dolezal. I believe Whoopi Goldberg said if she wants to be black, she can be black.
Right. Here's the thing. If she wanted to be a man, she'd be a hero right now. She fucked up by wanting to be black. That's where she fucked up in white America's eyes. You want to be black? Oh, you crazy. You see? If she wanted to be an animal, they probably would have accepted that before wanting to be black. Yeah, you're going to be trans species.
Right. Talib actually brings up a movie called Soul Man. Soul Man was about a rich white kid with rich parents.
Okay.
Who got accepted to Harvard. His parents were going to pay for his college, but ended up buying like a condo in the Bahamas or something with the money. and said, you're going to have to pay for it yourself. He went to apply for financial aid at Harvard, and they basically said that financial aid is for...
Black people.
No, financial aid is for kids who have poor parents, not who have asshole parents. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So he didn't qualify for financial aid, but there was a scholarship for African Americans.
Right.
So he got with his buddy who worked for some like tanning company and just took a bunch of these, like overdid these tanning pills.
Right.
Put on like a wig that was like a jerry curl, you know,
right.
At the time jerry curls were the thing, and enrolled in Howard as a black person.
Right.
And, you know, fell in love with like Ray Don Chong or something. And I think like in the process he found out that he actually took her scholarship.
Right.
And, you know, felt bad about it.
Right.
And James Earl Jones, I think, was like a professor and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it was basically the story. Then at one point he just came back and he was white. And, you know,
right.
And so forth. And it was the same type of thing. He was a white person pretending to be black. And the one thing that I actually saw on Twitter, which I want to talk to you about, is that a lot of people on Twitter, particularly white people, were hashtagging it black privilege.
Black privilege.
Yes. So that she got to where she was by black privilege. That's how she became an NAACP president. That's how she became a professor. That's why she got certain speaking opportunities and, you know, that type of thing from black privilege.
The fuck is black privilege in America? Are you fucking serious? If anything, the fact that she really was white probably is why she got all those fucking opportunities. She's white, pretending to be black, moving within black organizations, but using her whiteness to get further, is how I would see it. Black privilege, like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, there is no black privilege in America.
No such thing?
No. Black privilege? No. Show me when, you know, the police show up to the scene with some black motherfuckers who might be wilding out and don't do nothing.
Being a rapper, do you feel that you have an advantage, that a person has an advantage being black in hip hop? Would that be an example of black privilege?
Does a person have an advantage by being black in hip hop? Of course they do, because this is a black genre. So
it's the house of hip hop.
Yeah, so you have an advantage just, you know, just because you are part of the original culture that created the shit.
So is that black privilege?
In a small way. It's not any kind of black privilege that translates into the world, though. Into the true world. Like, okay, you're black and I'm going to listen to you before I listen to another white boy.
Right. I mean, so for example, if there was like two, like in your point of view, someone brought a rap song from a black artist you've never heard of and a white artist you've never heard of, which one would you listen to first?
I'd probably listen to the black one first, of course. Right. But that's not about privilege. That's because most white dudes are not that good. Like, it's an anomaly when white guys are good. I want to hear the best hip hop I can hear. So now but see, there's a lot of shit that go into it. I might look at the two covers, and if fucking the black dude is wearing some shit like what Lil B just had on in that fucking interview, then I'm going to listen to the white boy shit first. Okay? How about that?
Lil B was on ESPN.
Right.
I wasn't ready for that outfit. I'm cool with Lil B. Me and Lil B talk regularly. We pushed a lot of stuff that he did. We're cool. I respect what he's done. I wasn't ready for that outfit. That outfit was a little different. I mean, he dressed, a lot of people were comparing him to how grandmothers dress in church.
That was a woman's hat with some fucking woman's earrings and a fucking woman's blouse, see-through lace blouse. But he knew that people would be talking about it.
Right.
So this is what I'm saying when it gets back to where do we draw the line? Like, a motherfucker in this day and age will do anything if they feel like it's gonna go viral. You know what I mean? If motherfuckers is gonna be talking about it, shit, I'll do whatever. Like, it's just crazy to me, man. Like, it's just crazy. Like, where does it, is fame and money that important where you would just do anything?
Lil B didn't get on ESPN because of how he dressed. He got it because of this whole curse.
Right. Oh, I
The
know. I
James
know
Harden
why he
curse.
got on there.
Yeah.
But he made sure his appearance on there was going to be remembered and go outside of ESPN. By doing that, he knew it was going to, that was going to be the focal point.
I mean, he had an album called "I'm Gay."
And he did it on purpose.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of shit in his songs on purpose to try to just be anti, just be that motherfucker who.
Well, I could tell you from all my interactions with Lil B, he doesn't seem like he's gay. He seems like he's into women.
All right, so stop doing gay shit then. Stop doing gay shit for attention. If you really are into women and all of that, like, what's the purpose of doing all this gay shit? Like, what's the purpose of putting that on? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to, what's, everything has a reason.
Here's what I think. Here's my theory. My theory is the Lil B fan base is kind of the oddballs, the people who don't really know their identities yet, are still a little bit confused or trying to figure things out. I actually went to a Lil B lecture at UCLA, and I saw the type of people that were showing up. Not everybody, but you see certain people with the pink bandanas. Like he has I guess the Lil B supporters are called the bitch squad, and their theory is, their statement is protect Lil B at all costs. So if anyone ever speaks out against Lil B, you get these massive tweets from thousands of people attacking whoever. And I think that Lil B understands clearly who his fans are.
Mm-hmm.
He's in tune with the people who support him.
Right.
So in order to keep that relationship going, he will do certain things like dress like a woman on ESPN to say, hey, I know who my core fans are. They're people who...
They're bitch ass motherfuckers who wear lace front shirts and old women hats and funny women's earrings.
People who might consider doing that.
Right.
He's reaching out to them.
That's cool.
He doesn't care about ESPN.
Exactly.
And he actually, and he turns down interviews all the time. Like he's not like a publicity person who just needs to do every interview. He turns down stuff all the time. He feels like Prince doesn't do a lot of interviews. He's not going to do a lot of interviews. He equates himself to that. And Prince had his own kind of oddball way of doing things as well. The butt cheeks out and everything else like that.
I ain't agree with it.
And I think that's what he's doing. He's telling those core fans that, hey, I fuck with you. And here we are talking about him. Here we are publicizing Lil B.
That's what I'm saying. Why? Why? Because it's some bullshit. It's some abnormal shit. And that's why it stands out. Because it's not normal. But they're trying to, again, make the abnormal normal.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate goal. And that's why this world is so crazy. So why are y'all, back to the bitch, Rachel, why are y'all so surprised by her? Because this is the world you're trying to create. Where black is white, white is black, man is woman, woman is man. Lies are the new truth.
Lies are the new truth.
Lies are the new truth.
What do you think of Chet Hayes? Any idea what that is?
Oh, that's
Tom Hanks. Stuff.
Yeah, that little motherfucker.
Did you see the video of him defending his use of the N-word?
Yeah, ain't nobody gonna tell me what to say and all this bullshit.
Well, let me play it for you.
Look, I know the majority of y'all are not going to get this because the history is still so fresh in our country. But hip-hop isn't about race. It's about the culture you identify with. And can't no one tell me what I can't say. I just want to clarify one thing. Under no circumstances would I ever go up to somebody that I didn't know and just be like, hey, what's up, my nigga? It's an unspoken thing between people who are friends who understand each other.
We interviewed one of his black friends, this rapper named Skrilla King.
He said he wasn't cool with it, right?
He wasn't cool with it.
Right.
We actually were supposed to interview Chet Hayes.
Okay.
I got on the phone with him. We talked. He agreed to do the interview. Mm-hmm. On the day of the interview, 15 minutes before the interview,
He backed out.
he called my assistant and said, something came up, I can't make it. Mm-hmm. And we told him, like, look, we had already booked the location. We've paid for the location. We also have paid for the cameraman to show up. This was not 6 hours. We confirmed with him 2 hours before, just to make double sure. The night before, 2 hours before, and so forth, because, we know sometimes things come up. He confirmed with us that morning, but 15 minutes before the start of the interview, he said, I can't make it. We told him, like, look, is there any way possible that you actually can come in, maybe even a little bit later, because we've already paid for these, we've already paid for the location of the cameraman. He goes, nah, sorry. Hit me up later on in the week or something. So he didn't apologize for not making it. Didn't make plans to reschedule. That was that. Now, when the interview came out with his former friend, Skrilla King, he texted me all upset. He tried calling me and said that, why you put a nobody like that up on there? And he said, if you don't take that interview down, I'm not going to interview with you.
Motherfucker, you already did an interview with me.
Right. My thinking was I wasn't planning on rescheduling another interview with him anyway.
Yeah, fuck you.
We're done. You've already showed that you don't respect my company. You don't respect my staff. You don't respect the money that I spent on it. Because a lot of times what happens is when people cancel like that, they usually say, I'll pay you back for what you spent. Or they say, something, let's reschedule at my studio so you don't have to book another studio. This was my fault and so forth.
Or at the very least, they could say, you know what, I feel horrible for fucking canceling on you 15 minutes before, but really some shit came up. I feel horrible. Yes, let's try to do this another time.
So, I'm not taking it down. And it was the reaction was kind of interesting to me, where he's trying to control the content that I have on the site,
right?
By dangling something.
Because that's white privilege. You see, this motherfucker has grown up with the epitome of white privilege all his life. This is why.
Tom Hanks is worth, I looked it up, is worth around $350 million.
Right.
As he should.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Great actor.
Oscar-winning actor, I believe. Multiple Oscars, I believe. Everyone, across the board respects his craft. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what his relationship is with his father. I don't know whether his father supports his rap career.
I heard his father and mother been telling him to shut the fuck up.
Oh, really?
And stop doing these interviews and shit. So maybe he was talking to Dad. Yeah, I'm on my way to go over to fucking Vlad TV to do another interview. And he's like, fucking Chet, what the fuck did I tell you? Stop talking to these motherfuckers. Every time you open your mouth, you're putting your fucking foot in it. That's what could have happened.
That's what could have happened.
You know what I
wouldn't
mean?
be surprised.
And if you go over there, you're not getting your fucking check this month.
Right.
Goodbye.
You're not getting your allowance.
You know what I mean? Oh,
Right. I
shit.
mean, well, clearly Chet Hayes has not made any money from his rap career. He's definitely in the red when it comes to his rap career.
Right.
And you know,
and whether he says nigga or not, it's not gonna make his shit any better.
right. And you know, just to clarify things, I have no grudges or anything else like that. I mean, this is what I do. I interview when you bring up something controversial. I'm going to interview people around the situation.
Right.
If I can interview you, great. If I cannot interview you, then I will interview the people around you or people who are affected by what you do. So there was no agenda to try to bring down Chet Hayes or anything else like that. And you know, and we offered him a chance to say whatever he wants in his own words. But it was kind of interesting how it all kind of went down. So you know, that interview's out. We're about to interview, you know, about to release an interview with David Banner where he says that a white person who approaches him and uses the N-word in his presence is risking physical violence.
Right.
They should watch saying the word nigga around me. If you white and you say the word around me, you might have some problems, physically.
And you know, he said something interesting. I said, well, what about a Spanish person saying that? Because Joel Ortiz actually kind of defended Chet Hayes. He said, I'm not going to tell people who can or cannot say the N-word. You know, I use it. You know, so I'm not going to say that someone else can't use it and so forth. But what David said, which was kind of interesting, was that he doesn't really, he's not as bothered by other races saying it because the other races were not the ones who used the word historically in such a hateful manner and derogatory manner and created this type of thing.
And I already told you about the close symbiotic relationship that, you know, so-called American blacks and, you know, our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, whether it be, you know, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, you know, even though these are Spanish-speaking places, those are still black people, and I consider them as such, even the ones that are lighter skin with the finer texture hair. Like, you know, I've always come up and was brought up to look at Puerto Ricans basically as just other kind of black people. You know what I mean?
Well, you use the N-word.
Right.
In your music and in your
And in my everyday life.
Your everyday life. I remember I interviewed Charlemagne, and at one point he said that he's not going to say that word anymore. He finds, you know, he at one point found a problem with saying that word, and he's not using it. But then in later interviews, he went back to using it again. I guess it was something he felt at the time, but later on reconsidered and so forth. Do you feel that black people should not use that word?
No. I don't feel that we shouldn't use the word. Actually,
like, I know black people who never use that word, who are bothered by that word,
right,
who hate the word,
right,
and not only hate when other people say it, black or white, but they themselves never say it.
Right. And that's good for them, and that's their choice. But what is that really accomplishing? Like, let's just say we all stop saying nigga today. Is that going to stop poverty or crime, or, you know, like, what is that going to do? First of all, the original word is negus, and negus is a king. Okay? The original African word is negus. Okay? This is where it originally derived from. So, yeah, that's something.
Never knew that. Yeah.
I know. That's something that a lot of people don't know.
So you're saying that white slave masters...
No, that's not why they were calling us that.
Okay.
The etymology goes, you know, you start one place with a word, and through time, it'll get grafted and broken down, and you might come upon the word, you know, when it transferred from negus, a couple thousand years now, you got it when it was Negro or something like that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? And now you took you know, and it lost some of its meaning. It went from king to such and such to just black, you know. And then so now you take Negro, turn that into nigger, and you thinking that because you think black is a bad thing psychologically, you think just by calling somebody black, you know, you fucking nigger, you fucking black, that's derogatory. Also, a nigger in their mind is supposed to be an uneducated person, which they made sure we were at that time.
You know, I remember I talked to Moral Technique. We did an interview recently, and we talked about that word, which he uses himself. And, you know, we talked about how it's used in the black community as a term of endearment. But he goes, well, not always. Because we say, yeah, fuck that bitch ass
Nigga.
word. Like, you know what I mean? That's used as a derogatory use. It's not always, oh, that's my.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's used as that, but it's not always used as that. And I never really thought about it that way. I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not always positive. It's not always negative, but it's definitely used both ways.
Mm-hmm. That just shows, you know, the multiplicity of the word. I mean, what's the point, though?
I mean, I can't think of another word in the English language that someone refers to by its first letter. There's lots of words in the alphabet that start with the letter N. But when you say the N word, you know, everyone knows exactly what you're talking about.
Well, if somebody says the F word, you know what you're talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
You
All
say
right,
the
I'll back
C
up off
word.
that. What's the C word?
Cunt.
Cunt?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess there was a show called The L Word, which was lesbian.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't know what that is. That's them now trying to institute their bullshit and try to put that into the lexicon. So, oh, what's the L word? Oh, that means lesbian. Nah, there is no fucking L word.
Do you ever see the word, you know, going away? Because, I mean, there's lots of derogatory terms, derogatory and non-derogatory terms in different cultures that people use amongst themselves, but it doesn't get popularized the same way that the N-word is. So, for example, like, I grew up, you know, around a Filipino neighborhood, right? So Filipinos would call themselves flips.
I never heard that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of Filipinos out here, so I'm not surprised. But, you know, in the Bay Area, in California, there's tons of them.
Flips.
Flip.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, Filipino flip.
Ah, got
you
it.
see what I'm
Okay.
saying? It's kind of a play off
yeah.
the first few letters.
Okay, right.
You know, but yeah, that's my flip right there. You know, we're all flips. You know, I heard that growing up, but you never really heard other cultures calling each other flips and stuff like that. Whereas you see Asians calling each other the N-word. Certain whites, you know, like your man Chet Hayes here.
Because
It spills out into other cultures.
Going back to our original conversation, why is that? Because black people are the producers and the seed planters of all cultures on the planet Earth. So all cultures are accustomed to taking from the black man's vernacular, his science, his you know, his everything, basically, his way of life, and adapting it to themselves. But we don't necessarily, these other cultures are not necessarily civilization producing cultures, which is why you wouldn't necessarily take from them and then it spreads to everybody. This just shows the universality of the black man. And this is nothing, and that's why our music is universal. That's why a lot of shit we do can be related to by everybody. This is why they need us as the face of all this new homosexual shit and all of that. Because if they get us on board and make it seem like we co-sign it, everybody else is gonna follow suit.
Well, let's look at Empire.
Let's look at it. No, hell fucking no, I don't watch that show.
You're bothered by Empire.
Yes.
Why?
The blatant fucking gay shit that they're trying to promote on there. I don't fuck with that.
What about the rest of it?
I don't watch the show, so I don't know about
You
the
don't
rest
watch
of it.
Okay. I like the show. I think it's a very well put together show.
I hear you.
But on the show, you have a gay character who I believe is actually fashioned after the director of the show, Lee Daniels. Some of the stuff that the character goes through, I guess Lee Daniels went through himself as a gay
And this
man.
is why he's purposely got a chip on his shoulder and he wants to strike a blow for gay people.
I actually interviewed yesterday one of the characters from the show, this girl named Soraya. She plays the love interest of, she plays an artist on the show and the love interest of one of the sons of Terrence Howard and so forth. What she reminded me, which I had forgotten because the season ended a few months ago, was that at the end of season 1, whoever didn't watch this, I'm about to spoil it for you. Terrence Howard, who is the head of Empire Records, the head of the family, goes to prison, and his gay son
Takes
over as the head of Empire.
Right.
So now you're going to have the head of Empire, be run by a gay man.
Right.
And and the character, the character who plays the son is actually gay in real life as well.
Of course. This is why they have no problem having, kissing scenes and all kind of
Sex scenes.
bullshit. You see, I don't know. I don't watch it, but I heard that type of shit goes on. I'm not watching that.
Well, and the character that she actually plays is bisexual herself. And I actually asked her, I said, "Are you bisexual in real life?" And she said no.
Right.
She goes, so was it hard? She was like, well, I had to learn how to play that role and so forth, and but no, in real life, I'm not bisexual. And it kind of, we talked about, for example, the popularity right now of like bisexuality in the female community. So, for example, Miley Cyrus just came out as bisexual. Karrueche came out as bisexual. I mean, you've always seen this in the world, especially in Hollywood, and music, but it just seems like there's more of it recently. I was a little surprised about Karrueche.
Trust me, that nigga Chris Brown probably talked her into a threesome a couple times.
Oh yeah. Well, in fact, I had heard that the mother of
And
his
that's when it happens.
daughter, Royalty, actually was having threesomes with him and Karrueche.
Yeah.
And I think that he went off
Of course.
afterwards and got a little.
Right. So while that's happening, you love me, baby? Yeah. Eat her pussy. Is that what you want me to do? Yeah. Okay. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that she's bisexual, but she got coaxed into eating some pussy, and now she believes she's bisexual because she's eating pussy before.
Well, I had heard that a lot of women do bisexual things to try to keep their man, and to try to please their man.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I don't know. I never asked my woman to do no bisexual shit to please me. So what kind of man do you have, too?
Right.
You see?
So you're saying, okay, so you've never had a threesome.
I didn't say that.
So you've done some shit with bisexual women.
Yep.
Did you enjoy it?
Yep. It's
You
like,
keep it 100.
listen, I'm not gonna, I don't see, I'm never gonna sit here and act like I'm somebody's priest or that I'm holier than thou. Like, I'm a foul motherfucker just like anybody else. Like, I've done some foul shit in my life. Like,
So
you understand?
you think that's foul?
For a girl to be eating another girl's pussy out, that's not cool. That's not right.
Did you push these girls into it?
No,
No,
no.
that was their thing.
They already was doing that,
Okay,
There
you just have to show up. Something like
basically. I was invited over. Put it that way.
Okay.
I was invited over. And, it was kind of weird, too, because you would think, like, when you get there, you think, like, all right, this is two broads, and they both gonna be all over me, right? But it turns out one of them was a little more, how can I say, even though she didn't look like a dyke, she was a little more into girls than she was guys. So she's almost like was trying to battle me for the broad who I had been dealing with for, years or whatever.
Competition almost.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I was like, huh, this is weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Awkward, huh?
yeah, it was a little weird. Like, are you trying to battle me for my broad right now? Like, hold up, I'm a man. Like, don't try to, you can't win this fight right here. Like, all you got is licking skills. Like, you can't do what the fuck I can do. Get the fuck out of here,
So it didn't end well?
No, it ended well, yeah, they both got pounded out and all that, but some shit went on, you know what I mean? Like some pussy eating went on between two women and all of that type of shit. And am I gonna sit here? Yeah, I indulged in some shit that could be considered foul. You know what I mean?
And considered homosexual.
Well, I don't like the way that sounds, but
Two women.
yeah.
Having
Well, when you
sex?
say homosexual,
Yeah.
I think of men.
Women could be homosexuals.
Yeah, I guess so.
So you were involved.
Yeah.
In a act where there was female homosexuality.
Yes, I was. More than once.
More than once.
How about that?
Me too.
But now, being said that and having indulged in that, would I go out here and promote that as being right or as being some sort of norm, or try to make you understand that, oh, this is just regular sex? Like, no, it's not. A threesome is not regular sex. Like, that's
Deviant.
just like the fucking all this other shit. So own it. If you're a sexual deviant, own it. You did some shit that's foul, or you enjoy doing some shit that's foul. You like getting sucked off by niggas, Mr. C. Like, you a sexual deviant. That's the shit you into. Admit it. Stop trying to justify it, but if it's wrong, say it's wrong. But you did it. So yeah, I did some shit that's wrong. Now, this was years and years ago, but it was done. Shit, I had knowledge. I was Lord Jamar. You know what I mean? I was God. You know what I mean? So
is that type of thing looked down upon in the 5% nation?
I don't know how much that comes up in the 5%. You know what I mean? Like, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I mean, the whole.
Well, eating pussy is looked down upon.
Okay.
And like, and yeah, with rosters too, like eating pussy is looked down upon.
What about getting head?
No.
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 Well, no, actually. In Rasta culture, because I was very heavily into reggae at one point. I even I was DJing for Barrington Levy and stuff like that. And I remember listening. There was famous songs. I
No licky licky, no licky.
Or there was a famous song by Mr. Vegas called "Heads High, Kill Him with It No." Tell the man you're not blow.
Yeah.
We want to hear you scream with your mouth clean. Like, what I mean? It's basically a song
right
about women not giving head to men.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could see, yeah, maybe some Rasta would say that too, because in the Bible, it actually says no anal sex and we talked about this before, sodomy. Yeah. Sodomy is anal sex and oral sex. Can be considered sodomy. So, yeah, that certain things is not considered cool, but motherfuckers do it anyway.
Right. Talking about what other motherfuckers do anyway, what I felt was the craziest story that we reported on this year is that an Alabama man was upset that his wife was showing their Shih Tzu too much attention, and was actually got caught having sex with the male Shih Tzu.
His wife was fucking a Shih Tzu.
No, his wife was just playing with the dog and ignoring him. So
he went and fucked the Shih Tzu.
he went and fucked the Shih Tzu. I guess she had set up a camera and actually found, videotaped it.
And I'm gonna go ahead and assume that these are white people. Yes.
No, actually, these are black. Well, I don't know what the wife looks like.
Whoa. Whoa.
Your assumption would be absolutely wrong.
Whoa. Doesn't matter what his wife is. If he was black and fucked a Shih Tzu, then that's not cool. That shit not cool.
39-year-old Jonathan Edward Medley of Geneva, Alabama, whose wife caught him engaging in bestiality with her male dog after suspicions of his cheating ways.
Cheating ways, right.
He was upset because his wife paid more attention to the dog than him, so he engaged in sexual acts with her 2-year-old Shih Tzu named Buster, causing several injuries.
Oh, my.
He was arrested and charged with animal cruelty. His bail was set at $535. Buster has since been in recovery. You know what the funny part is? That you look through these comments, and someone said, the worst part is that it was a male dog. Like, really? That's the worst part? If it was a female dog, it'd be just fine? Like, well, really?
Oh, man, oh, man.
Like, that's the worst part, huh? And a male. Like, yeah, I mean, it's...
Right.
I believe,
That's terrible, but if it was a female, I mean...
Hey,
Pussy's pussy.
Yeah, who doesn't fuck a female dog? I mean, yeah, pretty sick stuff. I don't even know how you really fuck a Shih Tzu. I mean, this thing is tiny. I mean, this is
grab it and I guess come here, little motherfucker.
And you're fucking it in the ass.
You see, this is what I'm saying. Like, that's where you get poisoned. When you hear stories like this, right? And then you try to figure out in your mind, well, how does that even work? You see, that's where your mind gets corrupted. That's where they try to fuck with you on a mental level.
Well, why is it that the first thing you said is, I assume he's white?
Because usually white people just do sick shit like that. Like whenever somebody gets eaten and they're in the refrigerator and all this type of shit, it's
Jeffrey
usually a
Dahmer.
white dude. Like, and usually, historically, when you hear about bestiality and shit like that, I don't really hear that a lot in the black community, but I've heard that quite a lot in the white community.
Well, I remember I was in Brazil. I was in Rio de Janeiro.
I know, and they got the donkey show and all that crazy shit.
Bestiality is
I
actually...
can't even look at no shit like that.
Bestiality is actually legal in Brazil. Because I remember I was passing by, it was like one of those porn shops with had the DVDs in the window. And they actually had girls with dogs and the whole thing right there. They're advertising it. And this wasn't even something that's hidden in the back. Like, they were saying, hey,
right,
if you want to see...
You know we got a girl fucking a horse in here, right? So, come on in.
Come on in. On sale.
Crazy, yo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that's even legal. I mean, that to me seems like something that's... I mean, because I feel like on one level, as a pet owner, that it's animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's doing the fucking or whatever else, it's still animal cruelty. Like, this animal did not sign up for this.
Right.
Yeah, Alabama. I mean, a lot of people were, it went into the jokes about Alabama.
Although I feel like it's more cruelty when the animal is getting fucked as opposed to the animal fucking somebody. You understand? Yeah. Well, it's still cruelty. It's still sick. It's still sick to make a dog do that.
I mean, but fucking a Shih Tzu in the ass is definitely more cruel than a Shih Tzu.
Than a Shih Tzu getting his nut off.
Yeah.
On the broad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if anything, he's a little bit happy by that. Like, I would think. I don't know, though.
Well, this brings me to an interesting point. Because I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, a female friend. And we were talking about Welvin the Great, who is, slightly mentally disabled.
Right, but he gets bitches.
He gets bitches. Mm-hmm. And he's actually out there having sex with women and so forth. And she was like, this is rape. I said, nah, what do you mean? Like, he's enjoying this. Like, he's out living his dream. Like, he's actually having, before this, he never had sex with women and stuff like that. And nah, like, ain't no one raping him. Like, this is his choice. And she said something very interesting. She said, What if it was a retarded girl? And she was out fucking a bunch of regular guys. Would the guy, with how would society look at that?
Stop equating men and women as the same. Equal is not identical. Okay, any woman that's out there fucking a bunch of motherfuckers is going to be looked at in a bad light, regardless if she's retarded or not. You see, we're not the same. We people, but we're not the same. Okay? Me as a man, if I got the key and my key can unlock any door, well then that's a master key, right? But any door that can be unlocked by any key, that lock is useless. Yes? If I can just put any key into the door and open it, what good is that lock, right? So what I'm saying is a man who is able to fuck mad broads and all of that, that's because he got the master key. Not all men can do that. But a woman that lets anybody just fuck her, she's worthless. She's worthless. And she could say, oh, I can do whatever a man can do. No, you can't. No, you can't. It's not, it's totally different. You're the receiver. You see, a man is the giver, the woman is a receiver. And to receive mad shit from mad different people is different than giving. It's just a whole different concept, and you're going to be looked down regardless if she was retarded or not. So, no, it's not rape that your man, Welvin, that's his name?
Welvin, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that rape. Although, is it good for anybody to allow sex to master their mind? No, male or female. Like, sex can get you fucked up. Like, can get you to the point where that's all you think about type of shit.
Right.
So, yeah, but I hate when people try to compare the male and female dynamic of, well, if a woman was out there having a bunch of sex, yeah, it is different. So, no. Stop with that bullshit.
You grew up in Brooklyn?
I grew up in New Rochelle.
New Rochelle. Mm-hmm. Okay. The neighborhood that you grew up in, middle class, lower class, how would you identify it as?
I mean, New Rochelle as a whole is mixed. You know what I mean? You got all different economic classes kind of coming together. But my immediate neighborhood, I'd say it was more, middle class.
Middle class.
Yeah.
Okay. So you never really had that issue of going back to the hood or whatever else?
Well, see, I used to be in the hood all the time, though. You see what I'm saying? Like, I live right up the block from, the projects or whatever. So
In New Rochelle?
Yeah, one of the projects in New Rochelle. So
Okay, so you used to go, so even though you didn't live there, you would go...
yeah, to the point where people thought I lived there.
Okay.
I was there so much.
Interesting, okay.
But, yeah, at the very end of the night, I'm sliding off down the block. So
number one, why would you hang out in the projects? Why would a middle-class kid in New Rochelle go and hang out in the projects?
because that's where my friends is at. That's where my peoples is at. Yeah.
Okay.
Point blank. And because it was live, like, you know what I mean?
It was fun.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, just everything that I was about was there. You know what I mean? Girls, fucking weed, my dudes.
Liquor.
Hip hop, liquor, the gods. You know what I mean? All of that.
Cigarettes.
Everything.
Everything.
Everything that I would want to indulge in was there.
Well, let me ask you a question. What did your parents think about you hanging out in the projects? Do they know, number one?
Yeah, they knew. You know, I'm not too sure what they was thinking. Like, you know what I mean?
So they never told you don't go over there?
Well, they just always like, be careful. Nah, but they never could tell me nothing really. Like I was the oldest, you know. My pops Ben was telling me from a young age to hold down the fort and you the man of the house and all of this type of shit from a young age. So in my mind, you know, even 7, 8 years old, I'm thinking I'm still in charge of my moms and my grandmoms and shit like that. You understand? Even though I'm a young kid. So when I start to get, you know, 13, 14, you can't really tell me nothing like other than be careful.
Okay. So you'd go hang out in the projects. Did that continue as you became Lord Jamar and brand Nubian album came out and everything else like that?
Well, not necessarily. Like at some point, see, when you focused on your goals, you can't always make the same moves that you've been making. Like, you know what I mean? So there was a point where, you know, I'm out there selling crack and shit like that. And then motherfuckers start getting sealed indictments and shit like that. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by a sealed indictment?
Well, like, they gather enough evidence on you surreptitiously where when they come through now, you don't even have to have nothing on you per se. Like, they already got you on an indictment and shit. They just come.
Shit you've already done.
Yeah, you know, you've been selling the undercovers for a long time or some shit like
They're
that.
building a
And
case
didn't
against
know.
you.
But then one day they might come through on a sweep where they got sealed indictments on a bunch of motherfuckers at once. Like, you know what I mean? Take the whole lobby full of motherfuckers on some sealed indictment shit. And I remember that happened one time, you know, and I had just missed it. Like, you know what I mean? Because I went home at the end of the night and this happened like in the, you know, the wee hours of the morning.
How old were you at the time?
17, maybe, some shit like that.
Still in high school.
Yeah. So I'm like, yo, I said, I know I'm doing this rap shit. Like this is gonna happen. Like, so I gotta stop moving how, you know, how I've been moving. Like,
So up until, well, even after your record deal, you were still selling crack.
no, not after my record deal, but
Up until.
like when we was going to the studio and shit, like I had stopped, but I still had money out there. You understand what I'm saying? So there still was work out there, and I still was, you know,
Collecting.
yeah, and that was helping us too get to the studio and shit like that.
So
Like,
so you were paying for your studio time with crack money.
well, we wasn't necessarily paying for the studio time, but like we was getting, you know, transportation and food and shit like that, and you know, just having some extra paper and shit like that.
Well, how old were you when you started selling crack?
I mean, the first thing I ever sold was coke, and I was like 13.
So at 13, you started selling coke.
Word, before I even sold weed.
Okay. how did you get into selling coke?
Just this dude I knew who was older than me, fucking, you know.
So he just fronted it for you. Said, okay, bring back this much.
Yeah, because he had it. He was from Washington Heights and all of that. Right. But he was like a super or something in my building. Like he worked in my building like as a janitor or some shit like that. Okay. But he was kind of younger. You know, he might have been like 19, 20 or some shit like that, you know.
So at 13 years old, he gave you some coke. You
Yeah.
sold it. You brought him back the money. Got some more coke. And then there you go. You're now a drug dealer.
Basically. You know, I'm sniffing it a little bit too.
Really?
Hell yeah.
At 13?
At 13. You know what I mean?
Your parents have any idea?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Your brothers?
Nope. Not at that point. They was, you know, I'm the oldest, so they was younger than me.
So you're selling and doing coke. Was there ever a time where you're basically, you know, fucking up and not, you know, basically getting high off your own supply and not bringing back the money that was expected?
You know, very early on that happened, and that taught me a lesson.
What
You
happened?
don't never want to owe nobody. I mean, I don't know exactly the whole circumstances, but I just remember like I came up short or some shit like that.
And what was the guy's response?
I mean, this was a big scary motherfucker too, you know? Right. But he has, you know, he had love for me or whatever. You know what I mean? So it was like, don't let that shit happen again type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think the anxiety about what I thought he was going to do was worse than what really.
Do you think he was going to kill you?
No.
Do you think he was going to hurt you?
Maybe beat me up.
Beat you up?
Yeah. Like, this was a big motherfucker, and he was way older than me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
So after that,
That taught me a valuable lesson. You don't never want to owe nobody no shit. Like, you don't want to owe nobody, you know? And to this day, I don't like owing nobody nothing.
so you continue to sell coke.
And then it goes into weed, mescaline.
Yeah. I mean, were you still getting high? Or after that, were you kind of like,
Nah, shit, I fuck with coke off, you know. I was never like a head, but, you know, yeah, I fucked with coke up until 19, 20, some shit like that.
At what point did you start selling crack?
When crack got popular.
The 80s.
Yeah, like the middle, 85, maybe 86.
What do you think changed once crack came on the scene? Because crack comes from coke, but the effects are slightly different.
It's just, but when you cook it and some shit they was putting in it that was different, like, you know what I mean? Because the old school motherfuckers, they used to freebase, which is cooking up coke and smoking it. But it didn't have the same effect that crack had. I don't know if it was something they started cutting it with different. This is what I heard. They started cutting it with some other shit at the coke level back in the days. And then once you started mixing it with the baking soda and all this type of shit, there's chemical reactions, man. You know what I mean? And so I can't fully explain it, but it was mad more addictive than regular coke.
Did you ever actually try crack?
Yes, I did.
You smoke crack?
Yes, I have.
Okay. What was different about smoking crack than sniffing coke for you?
I don't know. I guess it's more intense.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's just more intense or something. I don't know.
You know, when people say,
See, because we used to smoke woolers and shit, like weed with the coke, well, first you smoke coke cigarettes and you even have coke joints, but then you're thinking, because when the crack first, nobody knew, like, so you're thinking this is some coke shit, like that this is some fly shit. Like I used to be in the Latin quarters, okay, coke in $100 bill, sniffing it in front of bitches, you know, trying to impress them.
right,
Like, I got coke. Look, I'm 15 and I got coke. I'm sniffing coke and blowing coke cigarettes in your face. Like, yeah, you smell that shit, right? I'm a live motherfucker, alive. These young boys don't know, but I got that coke. What's up? You know what I mean? That's the type of shit. Like, it was some fly shit. But then niggas start smoking those woolers, and then you see certain motherfuckers who you looked up to. This was all they was doing was smoking. They're not even smoking it out the pipe. And then they fucked around and got hooked. And now these same motherfuckers used to look up to, used to have all the jewelry and the fila suits, and now they looking like bums. You're like, what the fuck? What happened? And they're like, yo, smoking them woolers. Like, word? Like, damn, my dude. Like, I don't know. And I think the only thing that saved me was having knowledge of self and knowing that I was God and knowing that I'm supposed to be the master of all things and nothing is supposed to master me. That's the only thing that I believe saved me.
well, and also seeing that.
Yeah, but shit, a lot of people have seen it and still do it.
True. I mean, like, for example, I'll tell you, like, I've never tried coke. And I believe the reason I never tried coke was because a close friend of mine who I grew up with overdosed and died at 23 off of coke.
Right.
And I never tried it at that point. And then when I saw that, I said, oh, okay, this is serious.
Yeah, see, if I would have saw something like that, maybe.
I mean, I went to his funeral, everything. Like, it was like, you know, watching his grandparents and parents cry, and, you know, it was like, okay, I'm gonna leave this stuff alone. So I'm sure seeing these fly dudes cracked out played some sort of role in your
Oh,
decision.
absolutely. You don't want to be that dude.
You don't want to be that.
You don't want to be that.
Like, you don't aspire to be a crackhead.
Right. See, and so my love for hip hop and broads kept me focused.
So at 19, you completely stopped.
Yeah, see, what happened was I had an incident where I almost had a heart attack from sniffing coke.
This is how my friend died. He had a heart attack and died.
Right. But see, I was like 18, I think. Maybe even 17, 18, yeah. And like, I remember I'm at his crib and, we had a lot of coke this night or whatever. And so at the end of the night, I remember my heart fucking feeling like it's jumping out my chest. And at some point I'm thinking, you might should go to the hospital. But then, like, you're still young and you're like, damn, how am I gonna explain this shit to my moms and all this type of shit? I'm going to the hospital on some coke shit, at that. So my dumb ass was like, you know what? Here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to sleep. If you wake up, you're never gonna do this shit again. And I went to sleep. And when I woke up, I was like, yes. I'm not fucking with this no more.
So you actually went to sleep thinking you might die?
Yes.
Pretty scary.
Yeah.
Pretty scary thing.
And I was like, yes, cool. And so then maybe like 2 weeks had passed and like, I don't know, somebody was smoking like a Coke cigarette and they passed it around. And I just took a little hit off of it. And then I felt my heart. I said, okay. All right, that's it. I never fucked with it again. Like, never fucked with it again. Yeah. So,
And this was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah. Like, definitely never during any brand Nubian days had I ever fucked with any coke. I mean, I used to smoke dust too. We used to smoke dust back in the
Dust is PCP?
Yeah. We used to smoke that dust.
I interviewed Christ Bearer.
The nigga that cut his own dick off, right?
Christ Bearer was on PCP. He had 3 baby mothers. He was on some PCP haze. He wanted to call his baby mothers because I guess he had restraining orders or some shit, and his shit was, the relationships were all fucked up, and so forth. He couldn't get a hold of them, and his homies wouldn't lend him the phone or whatever. And in a PCP, haze, he decided that a vasectomy would solve all his problems. So he pulled out a steak knife and cut off this part of his penis.
I did grab the knife, and it was like out of frustration due to the fact I couldn't see my kids, and vasectomy and monk type of shit was on my mind. You know what I mean? And when you high off that shit, anybody who fuck with it before, that's what niggas kill shit off for. Just give you the mind state that fuck the world to degrees that niggas who never did it before probably wouldn't understand. But it's not all bad. I'm gonna tell you that. But it is more bad than good.
And I remember talking to him. I don't remember if it was on or off camera, but I said, listen, I can guarantee you 100% that after this comes out, and I don't know whether you're going to meet the person who you affected or not, but I can guarantee you someone's going to watch this and say, I'm not going to do PCP. If PCP could potentially make me cut off my own penis,
and this is why
I'm not going to do PCP.
I mean, this is why things happen in the world, to be a catalyst for something else. It's like everything is of service, even the bad things. You see? So when somebody does some shit like that, that can serve as a lesson for someone else to say, you know what, I'm not going to fuck with this, because that can lead to me cutting my own dick off, and that's some bullshit.
Any crazy stories off PCP?
Nah, I mean, I remember one time, because I know how to handle my shit most of the time. One time I was in a fun house, though, and I got stuck. Stuck is when you really fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? And like, I remember just getting hot and taking my shirt off, and I'm running up on looking at motherfuckers all in their face, all you know, and these motherfuckers, you know, I was like 15 maybe at the time. They could have pounded me out, you know. And they like, oh, little man is dusted. Get out of here, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm at the bar, and like milk is supposed to bring you down, so I'm at the bar, bang, yeah, I need milk, and I don't hear that they're telling me we don't have milk or some shit, some crazy shit.
Because I remember, I guess during that time, you know, Beastie Boys' first album came out, and all through the album, you know, but I can't pay attention because I'm on that dust. You know, went in the bathroom, rolled myself a woola. Like, all this shit you're talking about was apparently some New York shit. That was like you know, the Beastie Boys were doing it. You know, I guess they're a little bit older than us, you know, and it's like, this what was happening in New York. People were doing PCP, people were
Lenox Avenue, all up and down Lenox, 110th, 116th, that's that Bomber Zeke, Voltron, that's where all the dust, fucking even the heroin and all that shit was.
You ever try heroin?
I sniffed it like twice in my life.
Sniffed heroin?
Yeah. I didn't like it though.
Didn't like it?
Nah, because I wanted to be up, you know what I mean? And I remember when I sniffed it, the motherfucker who got me to sniff it got mad, like, nigga, you don't know what to feel, motherfucker, like, this shit good as a motherfucker. Boy, I was like, man, fuck that. But we was young.
Yeah. Now, I remember a drug dealer friend of mine used to tell me how, like, where he was from, like the OG D-boys, like, their crews, they would always have a heroin addict in their crew because...
Test the shit out.
Well, to test the shit out, number one, but number two, if they wanted someone to go in a restaurant and kill everyone in the restaurant,
right,
that's the guy that was going to do it, because
they'll do whatever to get that.
They would do whatever to get some more heroin. Like, if you tell them, like, go do this and I'll give you a bunch of heroin,
right?
Okay,
you got it.
You got it. You know, we're talking about very, very heavy drugs here.
Actually, a friend of mine, he couldn't kick it, and he ended up committing suicide, like 18.
Yeah. Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never tried that. I've never, you know, I'm pretty much just a weed dude.
Yeah, and that was always my foundational thing. Like, I've always been a weed dude, like, you know, always. Like, and that's been the one constant thing that I've never stopped.
Like, I mean, it's dope that you could talk about it, and you know, you don't sugarcoat it.
I made it through.
Right, because you know once this comes out, it's like, oh,
I knew he was a crackhead. Look at that motherfucker. That's why he's sitting on Vlad's couch. He probably gives him crack at the end of every fucking interview and shit.
I pay you with crack.
Yeah, he pays me in crack and shit. Man, see, a master, right, is one who knows and understands something. The only way you're gonna master something is to know and understand it, is to go through it. I can speak from experience, you see? And I could say, nah, that's a weak man right there. He's weak. You know why? Because I know what it is to be strong. I went through the same shit. Nigga, you smoked crack and became a crackhead. I smoked it and didn't become one because of the power of my mind.
You don't think that some people...
Yeah, some people have addictive personalities and
are just born that way.
There's chemistry, all of that goes into it. It's not just one thing.
Some people self-medicate. You know, some people have mental disorders and they try to self-medicate.
Right. I mean, I think we all might be guilty of that a little bit.
A little bit. Now, what if, for example, like, how old are your kids?
22 and 16.
22 and 16. If one of your kids came, you know, said, hey, Dad, I seen this interview. I decided to experiment myself too. What would you tell them?
Decided to experiment with what? Just drugs, period?
Coke, crack, heroin, PCP.
I mean, I tell them don't fuck with it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they do. You know what I mean? And I already know my son has tried whatever these young boys be fucking with right now.
Molly.
He's probably tried that before.
Yeah? Did he talk to you about it?
Yeah, he's talked to me about certain things. You know what I mean?
And what'd you tell him?
Told him you was stupid for, you know what I mean? Yeah. For fucking with certain shit, like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I know that there's certain things that we all have to go through in order to learn our life lessons. And see what separates us from the animals is the fact that we have the freedom to choose. The freedom to choose right from wrong. It's put out there for you. And now you can choose to do right or you can choose to do wrong. But there's going to be a cause and effect for either thing that you do.
Right.
So, listen, if you choose to take drugs or if you choose to fucking, do some gay shit or whatever, there's consequences for everything that we do. If you choose to, save somebody from a burning building, there'll be an effect from that. We all have free will. You see? And that's what separates us. A bird doesn't have the option to say, I don't want to fly. I know I'm supposed to fly. I have these wings, but I'm not going to fly. I'm just going to walk around. Fuck what all these other birds is doing. They don't consciously say, I'm not going to fly. But you consciously have the free will to choose whatever as a human being. And so just admit that it's all a choice. Even the choice, you know what I thought about? I hate when they say, nobody chooses to be heterosexual. Like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Like, it's a choice to have sex.
Yeah.
You don't have to have sex.
It's a process.
Just because you might be attracted to the opposite sex, it's your choice to act on that. So, I just want to say that.
I'm me. So I'm going to always, give my opinion on things. And, I saw Lauren London come out at the BET Awards, and she was like, she had gained a little weight. So I said, yo, Lauren London left her waist trainer at home. Ha ha ha.
I was a big lean drinker, like heavy on lean, you feel me? Like, I'll drink a 6 or pour a 4 in a 20 ounce or drink a 8, a 10, a 12 in one day. That's the type of shit I did.
How young were you when you first started?
Like, when I first started drinking lean, like 15.
15.